Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Late Night News. I am your host, Joe Compton. I am solo anchoring tonight. Hi to my co-anchor out there, Vanessa Junta. She is at a conference or convention this weekend, so unfortunately, it just didn't work out. But that's okay. We're going to do the news. We're going to be okay. I'm going to adjust my screen here, and yeah, we're gonna do this, and we've got a lot of great stuff to talk about tonight. And a little bit later on, not only do we have a great marketing tip for you, but we also have a special guest, Mr. SM Hillman, will be joining me to talk a little bit about an op-ed that he and I came across that I think is very interesting and involves AI and tabletop gaming. And we'll talk a little bit about that later on. Hi, Anita. Anita's here. Hello, nice to see you. Uh, but to get the ball rolling, we do have news. And our top story tonight on Late Night News is, of course, a little story time for you. When Eddie Hunter started Bookshop in 2020, his goal was to build an online bookstore that served as an indie alternative to Amazon. 5 years later, and more than 2,200 independent bookstores sell books through the site, and which has generated more than 35 million in profit for participating stores. But Bookshop didn't sell ebooks, leaving member stores shut out of a lucrative format. Well, that all has changed, everybody. Ebooks are here. Bookshop.org is now aiming to change their approach as late into January, the online bookstore started selling ebooks on their site and launched an app launched an app that allows customers to read digital books purchased from Bookshop or from independent bookstores. Bookstores will be able to sell digital books directly from their own websites. And when customers buy ebooks through Bookshop and select a store to support, all the profits from the digital sales will go to those stores. To start, Bookshop's website will have more than 1 million digital books on offer. Later this year, Bookshop plans to add books by self-published authors and more independent publishers. Independent bookstores have been looking for ways to compete in the ebook space, said Rachel Cantor, the owner of Love Struck Books, a romance bookstore in Boston. It is a really good godsend. Indeed. And in a 2023 survey of independent bookstores by the American Booksellers Association found that 18% sell ebooks, largely because of the limited options available, plus also to support indies. Ever since Amazon introduced its Kindle e-reading device in 2007, the e-commerce giant has dominated the market for digital books. Other companies have made inroads, including Kobo and Barnes & Noble with its Nook e-reader, but most independent bookstores simply ceded the ebook market to the retail giant. And a 2023 survey of the independent bookstores found that just 18% sold ebooks, and siphoning ebook sales away from Amazon will be difficult. The company created a seamless ecosystem with its Kindle app and the ebook subscription service that allows customers to consume unlimited books for about $12 a month. Digital book sales haven't taken over print as many in the book business once feared, but for many readers, especially heavy readers in this genre like romances and thrillers, digital books are more convenient and often less expensive. Publishers' revenues from ebook sales have totaled some $945 million in the first 11 months in 2024, and ebooks accounted for 11% of their revenues, according to the Association of American Publishers. By comparison, sales of physical books, including paperback and cover and hardback, have accounted for $6.5 billion in revenue over the last 12 months and have made 75% of the market in that time period. Lee Beckerton, owner of Tiny Bookstore, a 270 square foot store in Pittsburgh, said she hopes Bookshop's addition of ebooks will appeal to customers who like reading digitally but want to support their local store or small publisher. With the current political environment, I suspect there are going to be more people who want to pivot out of the Amazon ecosystem. There's a window of opportunity to make this market competitive again. Bookshop took off during the pandemic. It's not unfamiliar to taking on these high tasks. They have really accounted for 2,433 stores that American Booksellers Association counted as members. That's 90% that use Bookshop. Their lower profits when they sell print books, though, through the site, 30% of the book's listed price, compare roughly to 40% they get selling directly to customers, but don't have to manage the inventory or pay for shipping. For print books that are sold directly by Bookshop, 10% of the list price goes into a pool that gets distributed to all independent bookstores who are a part of the Bookshop family. So when customers buy ebooks from Bookshop without identifying a particular bookstore, 30% will go into the shared pool profit for stores, and the rest will go toward funding Bookshop's operations. So that's good news for independent sellers. Up until now, customers had to go to Amazon or Kobo and other places, Hunter said. Now they have no easy way to buy ebooks from an independent store. He began tackling this problem in 2022, but had to raise the money for the initiative. Once ebook sales are working seamlessly, Hunter has other ambitions, including building an alternative to Goodreads and the book review site owned by Amazon. That's still on my to-do list, he said. Get there, Hunter. We need that. We need that badly. All right. So let's break this down a little bit. Let's talk about this. And I'm very interested to hear everybody's thoughts out there. Hi, Tiffany. Nice to see you. But the major challenge that this obviously has is the branding of what the device is going to house these books, right? And also, for anybody who doesn't know, I know that some people would assume the challenge is that if you're an independent seller, if you're an independent book, you're not a bookstore per se. So how do you get yourself out there and put yourself on those shelves? But Bookshop, if you don't know, has an easy affiliate program and a setup that you can set up your own little shops online for. And maybe I'll have CL Cannon run that through in one of these marketing tips one of these days. But you can actually create your own bookstore on Bookshop as a digital bookstore. It's just until now you couldn't sell ebooks there. I've been playing with it quite a bit the last couple of months because I too have, because of the political climate, I've been looking for ways to distance myself from those monsters that have kind of taken over. And I've also always been the fight for the indie to try and get an alternative going. And maybe Smashwords and Digital and Drafted Digital will get there eventually, but they are taking their sweet time, and we just can't wait anymore. And I think that's what Hunter's point was. I mean, he's been working on this since 2022. It took him two and a half years to get this done, which is to say that for Smashwords and Drafted Digital, we got to give them a little lenience because they're about that point right now since their merger. This will be their second year into the merger, but the opportunity and the market share is there because major publishers are abandoning the ebook format or pricing it so out of market. They've always been doing that, but they've really now concentrated on doing that. And I'm seeing a lot of independent publishers follow suit where the pricing is raised to exorbitant amounts because they're just not making profit off of that. And I think part of what Bookshop does is not only profits the sale itself, but profits the opportunity to sell. And so I think this is a really, really good program for that opportunity. And I hope that we're able to kind of rise the tide a little bit for everybody and get that going and engage the independent side of this for sure. This is a very interesting concept, but it does have the drawback and the dilemma of how does it usurp the Kindle. The Kindle is going to be the key ingredient to this puzzle, right? The app is okay. It's decent. I downloaded it. I've played with it a little bit. It's all right. It just doesn't settle in like a Kindle does. It doesn't format like a Kindle does. You're basically assuming a PDF and trying to manipulate it to your screen size or whatever you're trying to do. And while you can do all those things, it's just a pain in the ass. Kindle does all that for you. So Kindle is kind of this automated program that I think was pretty genius by Amazon. It's probably their one genius, super genius move among becoming a bookseller. Uh, you know, and I really think that that is going to be the challenge that lies ahead for Bookshop. If they can find a way to, I mean, they may have to create their own device. I don't know. I don't know how much that could help them or hurt them if they want to get into that business. They're just looking for ways to sell the digital copy for you. The other thing about Bookshop that I think is unique to Amazon that is a benefit for you is that Bookshop protects all of its clientele, right? It is anti-piracy. It's got anti-piracy software, and it does a lot of good things there. But it also is going through the direct where the direct file is, so it is protecting that to a certain extent, and I think that's important too. So I think there's a lot of good here. Very excited for this news. I think it's really good news in our business, and I think that Bookshop can really benefit and help a lot of folks bridge that gap that they've had, and get them further and further away from Amazon. I mean, creating a bookstore onto your site, direct sales, is going to be good, but you're going to need a conduit too. You're going to need a place where people will go, and I think that Bookshop can offer that to you. You can connect your direct sale page to the Bookshop and make them work in continuity to one another. And I think that's a key element as well. Whereas I don't believe Smashwords and Draft to Digital and Amazon would ever consider that as an option. They don't need to. They sell direct themselves, and they do what they do for profit. Bookshop is in it for the profit too, but what they're in it for is to profit everybody. They're not just profiting their own company, right? So I think that's a real important distinction. And so I think this is a really good opportunity. I'm excited to hear about the Goodreads aspect of it. Yeah, go check it out, Tiffany. I think you'd really dig it. Uh, yeah, you can set up an outside publisher site there and put that all together. And yeah, I think for the Goodreads aspect of this, that's exciting news too, because we need something that destroys that antiquated, outdated, horrible, horrible site. Um, and so that's really great. So there's that. Uh, anybody have any comments about that? I'll put those back up here. But that is good news to start our day, and more good news coming our way uh, as we set into what is dangerous times and a lot of you know denial about what is happening in our world, and so a lot of things are being ignored and people aren't being helped. And so Bandcamp, who started this thing last year, they did this on very simple terms. Yeah, bookshop.org. Everybody, the site is called bookshop.org. So go check that out for sure. But Bandcamp is a for people who don't know what Bandcamp is. Bandcamp is speaking of independent seller. They are a website that helps independent music artists, sell their music directly through their site, and they are the number one rated site amongst independent musicians. They are also the number three best suited site for return on your investment with them. So if you put your music out there, you're going to get the third best return you could get from streaming your music there. And so part of what they're doing, their initiative, is called Bandcamp Friday. And Bandcamp Friday essentially is they've been watching all the horror and devastation wrought with the wildfires in California, with thousands of people, including many of the Bandcamp community labels and artists, losing their homes and finding their livelihoods jeopardized. So, having started this Friday, I'm sorry I didn't mention this till now, but I wanted to save this for the news. But this Friday, but bear with me. starting this Friday, from midnight to midnight Pacific time, 100% of Bandcamp's proceeds will be donated to Music Cares to support the affected by the recent Southern California wildfires. Music Cares helps the humans behind the music because the music gives so much to the world. Offering preventive emergency and recovery programs, Music Cares is a safety net supporting the health and welfare of the music community. We hope you'll join both of their partners in the effort. A2IM, Harmon, Lagunitas, Roland, Schur, Victor Ollie, and Wynn in spreading the word to your fans to help us raise as much as possible for the impacted communities. They've got some great little things you can put on your social media to do that, and I'll put that up, put the thing on there. But every month they're going to be doing this. So March 7th, May 2nd, August 1st, and September 5th are the next Bandcamp Fridays. So March 7th, May 2nd, August 1st, September 5th. So every one of those Fridays, they're going to any money they make, they're going to give to charity. Any money they make. That doesn't mean that they're taking that money away from the artists. They're talking about profits on top of what they make. The artists will still get paid. In fact, the artists will get an extra bit of stipend from taking this on and promoting it. So that's all really good news there. And I hope you guys go and support it. So if you're looking for some good indie music, we've done some good indie reviews lately, JD and myself, and we've put some music out there. All of the music that we take a look at comes from Bandcamp. So I personally start my search for brand new releases at Bandcamp. That's where I start, and I look through new releases. Obviously, Bandcamp doesn't cover everything, so I have to go outside of Bandcamp. But Bandcamp is the initial area in which I begin to search for new releases to take a listen to and review for you all on our blog, which I just did one recently. Actually, I've done two recently in the last 2 weeks. So if you haven't checked out that music and you're a fan of that type of music, the one's an indie rock and then the other one is indie punk. There is those out there, and you can go right to their site. I always link the Bandcamp link to the end of the review, and so you can go. Even if you download a song for $1, Bandcamp's going to take that 72 cents that they make off of that dollar and give it to the charity. So they're making nothing on this, and so I think it's a really wonderful thing that they're doing. Tiffany says March 7th is her birthday. Yeah. And Deborah says they are the ones. Yes, Bookshop did. Well, they were the same thing, but yeah, they basically usurped over top of IndieBound and kind of phased IndieBound out and made themselves part of the whole conglomerate. It became Bookshop. But anyway, so that's those are some really good news to start our day, right? I mean, this is a feel good late night news for once in our lives. But yeah, this has been and I think searching for positive stories like this is important because we're going to talk some negativity come the second half of the show tonight. Just a couple people being douches that we need to acknowledge and kind of put in their place a little bit. But that being said, Late Night News is here to try and make lives better, worlds better, and talk about the good things that our communities are doing. And so there you go. There's a couple good examples of what is going on in our world. And a great example of what goes on here at Late Night News is a very special announcement that I'm going to make for the whole Go Indie Now network. Come March, we have officially become once again, the conduit and the housing for March of the Riders by JD Estrada. So we're going to take the prompts that JD Estrada creates. If you don't know what March of the Riders is, let me give you a brief underling of it for just a moment. March of the Riders is basically an event that JD does every March where it takes day 1 to day 31 and gives you a prompt in which you perform an action that helps you as a writer. For example, like day 1 might be introduce yourself through a video. So you to make a video and you post the video on social media wherever you want, and there you go. You've completed task 1. Each day, each week has tasks that you complete, and those tasks can be completed at any time. They don't have to be completed on the day of, though a lot of people like to challenge themselves and try to do this kind of like NaNoWriMo. It is a great way to kind of get the word out about you, do some different things, learn some social media tricks, and put yourself out there and support other writers. Because if you're a part of this, part of the thing you do is you spread the love. You take the hashtag and you put it out there with all of them, and you repost and you like it and you comment and you share it with everybody. Whenever somebody posts something from March of the Writers, and that's just a scratch my back, scratch your back kind of thing. And we're very fortunate to once again be talking about March of the Writers, and every show in March, including the last show in February, I should mention, because the last show, I believe, is 9th, 16th, 23rd. So the last show will be the 23rd of February, and then we go into March after that. But the 23rd of February will remind everybody, we'll get you going on the first prompts. And then every week on This Week in Indies, we will label prompts for you. And then, of course, on this show as well, we'll go over some prompts for you. In fact, on the next Late Night News in March, we will feature some of our favorites from the prompts. So if you happen to do a prompt, we're going to keep track of all the prompts that are out there for March of the Writers, and we're going to run a little collage, a little tribute to March of the Writers, and put your activity up there, whatever you completed, whatever task you completed. We'll put it up there, kind of like when they ask you to take selfies and use the hashtag, for whatever sporting events or whatever you're doing. We're going to do the same here at Late Night News. We're going to do a little montage and fun thing for that. But every week on This Week in Indies, we will feature a new set of prompts. And if you're a panelist of that week, get yourself prepared, and we'll give you plenty of time, I promise. You can always go and look at them now. The prompts are there. He's already posted 2025 prompts. And JD Estrada blogspot.com. You can go, and then I will have the link as well in the description for you to go click on and take a look at the prompts and put those out there, and then you can do the prompts. And then if you're a panelist on each week, the host of that week is going to pick one prompt to have you all do live on This Week in Indies. So I think that's going to be a fun thing to do. And I think we did that last year and it worked out pretty well. I think we had a lot of fun with that. And as this is our 4th year of supporting March of the Writers, which we're happy to do and so glad to do so. JD does some amazing things. And so I'm really hoping that you all participate and take a look at this and join in the fun of March of the Writers. And we'll do that, and hope that you come and join us for that and have some fun. All right. Speaking of having some fun, well, social media can be daunting, to say the least. And to maximize social media could be even more daunting. To monetize it, to maximize opportunity and potential, where do you go? What is the best site? What is the best thing to do? Well, all those questions are valid questions, but they're not going to be answered in this week's marketing tip, or will they be?
Hey guys, CL Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another monthly marketing tip. Today I want to talk to you about the importance of diversifying the way that you reach readers. With the big scare of TikTok getting banned and the threat kind of still looming over us, not to mention the possibility of platforms changing rules, changing ownership, or restricting certain kinds of content, it's more important than ever that you have several ways that you can reach your audience. Now, this doesn't mean I want you on every platform, especially if you're uncomfortable there. We're writers first and foremost, and while it would be cool to be everywhere, we only have so much of ourselves to give. So in picking your platforms, there are a few questions that you need to ask yourself. How much time do you have to devote to content creation each week? Most of us have other obligations like kids, jobs, household chores, appointments, self care, and yes, some of us even get a little bit of writing done between all that. So set a realistic expectation for how much time you can spend marketing. Some platforms can take more time than others to post on. I can certainly send a post on Blue Sky much faster than I can record and edit a TikTok or write an entire newsletter. And I take a long time to write newsletters. So balance has to be achieved somewhere. You can make a broad plan, make a daily goal, or you can schedule different tasks based on the day. But getting a good idea of your available time can help you decide where to spend it. Where do your ideal readers interact with you the most, and what platforms are they on? This can vary a lot depending on your genre and the average age of your readership. If you're not sure, try sending out polls or surveys. You can do that on your platforms. You can do that in your newsletter. And even better if it's hosted on like a third-party site like Google Forms, Jot Forms, Typeforms, any of the polling sites, because this can give you a good idea of where people are actually seeing your content the most, and having that data is powerful, and it can help you decide where to invest your energy. Next, ask yourself, what skills do I have? Some platforms require more technical know-how than others, and if you're not willing or able to devote time to learning these skills or carrying out these tasks, you may want to dial down your presence on that platform or even skip it entirely. And that doesn't mean that platforms that demand more time or skills are less valuable or that you should skip them, only that you should know your limitations and focus your energy where you'll get the most return. And that's going to look different for each author. What platforms allow you the most control over your data and the data that you collect from your readers? Most social media platforms give you very, very little control over your follower data, which is why I always preach the necessities of a newsletter, where you own the list and you can take it with you to any EMS. That data can only be taken away from you via the reader's explicit consent. So by them unsubscribing or them saying, hey, delete my data. Unlike social media sites like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or even Amazon, where your followers and your content could just disappear if the company goes under, is banned, or if they restrict your account. What features do the platforms you're using have that make them valuable to you and your readers? Some platforms are nearly irreplaceable because they haven't been copied successfully yet. I think a lot of us realized this when TikTok got banned, and IG Reels and YouTube Shorts that just didn't have the same feel nor the same reach or results for us because of TikTok's algorithm. It's important to recognize truly unique platforms and also to research what might be on the horizon that you could jump to and try to get as close to the same experience as possible for you and your readers. Once you pick your platforms, make sure you have them each connected in some way so that when one service goes down, it's easy to find you elsewhere. This means putting all your info in your bio links. I use link.bio, which I love and have a video on. You should go watch that. Some other people use services like Linktree and Card, and there's a million other services out there that perform the same task. You could even put one on your own website and use it. You should also use the same platform handles across all sites whenever possible. I'm CL Cannon author or CL Cannon everywhere on social media, on all of my profiles, so it makes it very easy to find me again. Having your platform information available on your website in an easy to find location, not holed away somewhere like the front page or your contact page, is one of the best ways to make sure that readers can still find you. Okay, that's my marketing tip for February. I hope it helps you make smart decisions about where to build your readership and how to pivot when needed. As always, I'm happy to answer any questions you have about today's tip or marketing in general. You can email me at info@fiction-atlas.com with your questions, or you can check me out on my websites that are listed below. I hope you have a lovely month, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Thanks again to CL Cannon, who each and every month delivers yet again another awesome marketing tip that was so thorough and so impressive. Really exciting to have her do that for us each and every month. So we really appreciate that aspect of it. We're going to bring on my guest for tonight in just a second, but I wanted to mention real quickly before we do that, we're celebrating. Death is inevitable, right? Everything has an end. Everything ends eventually. Even going now might end someday. Not anytime soon. I promise you that. Don't worry. But We do have a special show that has been near and dear to my heart, that has been put so much effort has been put into it, and so many great guests, so many great topics, all centered around the horror genre and death itself. And next week we're going to be supremely devoted to honoring the incredible gift that we've been given by AF Stewart, called Words That Kill. We have 4 brand new episodes that will air from September from Saturday till next Friday, when that's right, the very next Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Myself and AF Stewart will be hosting a live version of the very final episode of Words That Kill. And she's got a really, really great guest. And I can't wait for you all to see it. It's going to be awesome. It's the live version of the show. I thought there would be no better way to end it, especially on Valentine's Day. Should be an incredible, incredible show. And it's all about killing the ones we love. That's going to be the topic. I will give you that much for it. But this was a great show, and we have 3 great episodes that we haven't aired yet into this final season. The Faked Death with Alex Nader. Then we have Mob Mentality Deaths with my next guest, SM Hillman. And we have Death by Illness with DL Winchester. Those 3 episodes will air during the week. And then we'll have Friday night's live finale, and just a nice little goodbye to a wonderful, wonderful thing that we've been able to do for the last 3 years. So everybody, get ready for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. We got a lot of great stuff. Next week's packed. I mean, we've got a conversation and cocktail. Vanessa Duta's got Paige L. Christie with her. And then we've got 21 Grams, where I have a guest who will be making her debut on Going In Now, even though I've known her probably longer than any person here online. But Miss Chrissy Moon will be joining me on Monday night. That'll be awesome as well. And of course, we have Sunday. We have This Week in Indies. With that being said, as he is driving down the freeway and joining us, my colleague, my friend, and the only person I could think of that really could encapsulate what nonsense I read recently.
Yeah.
There was this op-ed posted, and it was who I forget the name of the site. Sorry,
Screen Rant.
Screen Rant. Yeah, who's usually this is not usually their wheelhouse to begin with, but they're usually movie oriented and indie movie oriented on that. But they've decided to stick their toe into the tabletop RPG aspect of things, and there's been some controversy lately about AI, as there's been throughout. And this op-ed was basically calling out wizards of the coast and saying, "Hey, you need to step up and lead the charge in this revolution." And just utter nonsense. But Mr. Hillman, I'm sure you have thoughts on that, and I'm curious what you thought of this. And we'll talk about what you think about AI in terms of its role here into the tabletop gaming industry as well. But first off, what about the op-ed? And what you read and what you thought of that?
So, up front, I want everyone to know that I was a freelance content creator for EN World from 2017 to 2021, so 4 years. And the reason I bring that up specifically because EN World is where the Eddies respond, and this article is about how the Ennies are drawing a line, which I agree with. No AI assistance in your writing, no AI assistance in your art for any product that's going to be submitted to the Ennies, which we should submit ourselves. Zero means you're dead and hit the dice both the Ennies this year, Joe. So let's not forget that.
All right.
Um,
I'll note that.
so yeah, and the author of the op-ed, whose name I don't have in front of me, I apologize, I'm on the road, doesn't disclose that they have an indie RPG published, self-published, I think, until page 3 if you're flipping pages, or like probably a good 800 to 1,000 words into the article. I didn't get the measurement. So that is the first thing right there. Up front, they should have said, I'm an indie RPG designer myself. Here are my feelings about AI. And it's a rambling, poorly written op-ed. Now, to be fair, what I should say is it's poorly edited, right? Op-ed, and which is a shame. I know sometimes freelance content creation, even something as with the name recognition of Screen Rant, probably doesn't have the time, funds, etc., to edit every piece that comes their way. But if you're trying to impress people with your intelligent take on what is a very sensitive subject, they did not land at all. It's whiny, it's lazy, it's poorly grammared, it's poorly the arguments. I'm not even sure what their real argument is, other than AI is bad.
And it's centered in that one company in this entire thing. And
yes, it is.
I understand D&D is the be all end all. I understand that. But it is just shooting right at them and not taking anything from anybody else. It's like Wizards is the only place that can change this concept, which is just ridiculous because they don't believe what this ranter believes anyway. So they've already embraced AI and they've done that for a while now. So
correct, right? Yeah, they've had a lot of missteps with AI, and although working in my own business, we're offered a lot of AI support, like Copilot. I don't think it's not a mystery. People use Copilot to do things like send emails or to do searches and stuff like that. And we can talk about the ethics of that. But if you're using we'll get to that in a minute. So, yes, the article essentially says that Wizards of the Coast needs to step up and say, and to adhere to the same standards that the Ennies, who have have drawn their line in the sand, who have made it clear that you can't use AI assistance to write your product, to make images. So it's very all over the place in that regard. And I feel like it's poorly the arguments is made very poorly, to the point where you'd almost be like, you'd almost want to take the opposite option because this was so badly written.
Yeah. It almost does give you that, like, I don't blame Wizards kind of idea,
Right.
Anita brings up a good point here. Screen Rant writes anything that gives it views. I worked for its sister site, CBR, for a while. That whole company runs on views and .com.
Yes, absolutely. And the irony being, and so I'm going to bring this particular subject up, The irony being is that Wizards of the Coast has designed D&D, I'd say the last 3 editions, and there's no shade on if you play it, I play it too. The last 3 editions have been markedly profit first, design second. Now, the tradition of TSR down to Wizards of the Coast, they follow a model, which ironically, the model exists because TSR under Gary was always running short of funds, right? So whenever Gary needed new funds for TSR, he would write a new book. And instead of changing their business model, right, Wizards for a long time kept that up as well. It's like, not necessarily when they needed more money, but when I guess when the sales slowed, they would bring out a new book, and that would push sales up again, right? Because we're all addicts. Let's be clear. We complain about, oh look, they're selling us these subpar books. I got to buy a version of it and the PDF. They don't sell PDFs, but I've got to buy a version of it.
There's supplements and special editions.
Right. Yeah. So they would make special editions only available through the FLGS, the Friendly Local Game Store, which is both good and bad, right? Has it kept some game stores in business? I hope it has, right? But back to the point, yeah, this was a terrible article. Terrible article. It uses big words that it doesn't clearly define. It doesn't tell you where really what Wizards of the Coast, WotC, for the acronym, is doing. It just suggests that they've been using it, and they have been. Let's be clear, they have been.
And again, they don't. They don't over it. They clear out. This is actually right from their website. They're admitting that they used AI. And it's like they're not even hiding it. So.
Right. So let's talk about that real quick. Yeah, I know. I agree. And let's talk about that real quick. AI is here to stay, right?
Yeah.
Right up until, for you sci-fi nerds, we either have to start shooting the AI or we have to fight a war against the AI to preserve our humanity. Up until that point, AI is going to be with us, even if the verbiage, the very acronym is not entirely correct. It's how businesses are doing business. It's how big businesses are doing business, and to some degree, and it's not all unethical.
Yeah.
Except that it's base level where they train the AI, and Jim Nettles should be on here correcting everything I'm saying. But at the level where the AI is trained, that's done to some degree is unethical how they train the AI both in art and prose and words.
Yeah.
And that's, companies are trying to be efficient and they're trying to put out products fast, but also there's a great, and Wizards of the Coast, and it's all self-inflicted. So let's be clear, I'm not making excuses for Wizards of the Coast, but they basically have self-inflicted that they've decided that this is the model they're going to use, and to do that model more efficiently, whether it means paying freelancers less, probably does, but I can't prove that. I don't have the stats for that. Regardless of that, it means that they are using AI to make their business more efficient. Where it's glaring is in the artwork. They've had a few miscues with the artwork. It's less obvious in the writing, but it's still pretty obvious, right? So.
Yeah, and it is the ongoing and enduring battle that we face in terms of the ethics of it, the mantra of it, the is it going to replace us idea. All of these things are uh, you know things that are going to be discussed and talked about and examined, and stories that will probably air throughout the year on these kind of things and that happen, and companies being deceitful about it. The one thing you got to give Wizards of the Coast credit for, and maybe it was because they did get called out a little bit, but they had owned
Right.
to it. They decided
Yes.
that they'd seen other companies try to deny it, try to play it off, try to put it back on the user. They said, no, we did it. Hey, this is hey, you got us. We did this, and so you got to give them a little bit of credence for that. I mean, a little bit. I mean, just a little bit. I mean, the fact that they're using it and using it badly is another whole other topic of discussion. But
Right.
it is.
Yes.
It is
It's
that.
worth a broader discussion. It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's bottom line is. Bottom line is that if you're a company who is going to take this shortcut, especially as an indie, you've got to know that we're all going to police this, and we're going to call you out on it. And what this article doesn't do very well, in my personal opinion, is talk about the angle of what it was really intending to try to do, which is he was trying to protect his own art, is what he was trying to do in this article. And
Right.
he didn't represent himself well because of not only because of what he was not saying, but also because it was poorly written, or
Yeah.
poorly edited, but also that you know we can have a stance, and all of us do. All of us have an opinion on this, just like we all have a political opinion, and we'll get to that aspect of something here just in a second. But
Right.
on top of all of that, you have to take a step back and look at the big picture here. If your ethics don't align with what Wizards is doing, but you're still playing D&D, they're winning. They don't care. They don't care about your ethics. They
Right.
don't care about if you want to take a stand, you have to boycott or stop utilizing their product if that's the way you work, and that's or you just use it and say, "Look, I'm a hypocrite. I use it. Own it." But
Right.
but otherwise, there's got to be the one thing about this argument that is really unsettling for me and has been for a long time is that there's no black or white answer to this. There are degrees, and we've all been using AI in one way or another for almost 10 years, maybe. In some respect, it hasn't been to this degree of where it's skynetting and learning and all this other stuff. That's relatively new aspects of this equation, but it has been coming and it has been building, and you
Oh
have to
yes.
decide where you're going to stand with that. And if you're an artist and your integrity matters, then that's on you. You nobody else should be policing you like you should be policing yourself. And that's how it feels.
So I'll give an example where I think that um, there's some degree of math in most role playing games, and so imagine if Tony Stark is going to make an RPG. He's not going to sit down there and do the math himself. He's going to say, "Gosh, what is this? Is Jervis or whatever?" He's like, "Here, I want you to run some D6 models for me." And Jervis will be like, "Sure," and run the dice models for him. I don't have a problem with that. If you want to use now, there are certain ethical uses of AI with regard to the environment. I think that's something we should take seriously, especially with people. Some people believe that water should not be free. Um, but if you need assistance with figuring out the math, or running some math models, I think that that's someplace you could use. And you wouldn't necessarily even have to disclose it if you didn't want to. You could use an AI assistant or some kind of assistance like that. Like, hey, so AI, I need you to run some D8 models for me, or D6s, or whatever.
Yeah.
What is it? What is the what is the math of 2D6 versus 3D6? It's out there. We're not all geniuses that way. But or for instance, if you were going to put orcs in your game, orcs are a big deal. I'll my villain monologue that's coming up later this month. It's a foreshadowing. I'm going to put orcs, but I don't know really where orc comes from, right? I don't know the etymology of orc, so I'm going to use Google or whatever to look that up. I think again, I don't have a problem with that, because I think that is how the tool is supposed to be used.
Yeah.
It's when you say to the game, to the Chat GPT, for instance, design me a game using D100 percentiles, roll low, no classes or levels. Then you go down this list of things, and then you take that and I guess edit it to some degree, or don't, or write me an adventure, right? And you sell that, right? You're paying money. You're having people pay money for that.
Yeah.
When you didn't do the work, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're all building on the work of the people who did shit before us. I think that must be said. But the difference is if I sweat and go blind trying to look up all the where work comes from, versus using a machine intelligence or language learning model, whatever it is. Forgive me, Jim. I know if you hear this, whatever it is we're using. And I think that is a difference. It's a distinction. So I think in a lot of ways, I come down to the side is that the ethical use of an assistant in that regard is very slim. Um, word correcting my grammar or spelling is about as much as I do. That's just me,
Yeah.
And sure, I would love, so yeah.
So, are you in a good spot? You can hang around and talk about with me this next story that I'm going to expand upon here.
Yeah.
Or do you?
Yes, I have a degree. No, I'm good. I'm not going anywhere. Trust me. I have a degree in political science. I do not have a degree in constitutional political science. I'm not a constitutionalist in that regard. But yeah, absolutely, I'll hang around.
And I have a degree in calling out douchebags, and we're about to talk about one really
Okay.
solid bag, right? And so a lot of people on the internet went a buzz earlier this week when a certain senator from Oklahoma, a Mr. Sorry, I forgot his first name, which is so bad. Dusty Devers, which is ironically sounds like a porn name, but we'll glance upon that in just a second. When Mr. Dusty Devers decided to post his legislation and do a first reading of SB 593, which is a bill that he's trying to put across that will ban and put in jail people who utilize either selling or purchasing visual elements that would be deemed inappropriate for children under 18, or what most people would call pornographic, or it really doesn't define it all that well. And the internet was up a buzz for this bill because a lot of erotic romance writers were thinking it was going to extend into them. And really, if you're a filmmaker in Oklahoma, I feel sorry for you, because that would be the one place where this thing would actually have a physical effect for you. But this let's first clear the air. Okay, some misconceptions about this bill. It has nothing to do with written word. And yes, I understand that one could easily translate it into written word being associated with this. I also understand that this is one step to the wrong direction that could lead to bigger steps along the way. Um, and I understand that this is something of the culture that we're all experiencing for this first 100 days. That is part of that. And we're all a little bit on edge because of that aspect of what our federal government is doing. And this guy is part of that douchebaggery that is going on. And I understand all of that. But this bill literally is labeling um, really things that would be deemed, and again, it doesn't varying degrees, but it is the things that would ultimately be basically majority would say it's porn or it's too graphic for a young child to witness with their own eyes or experience. Uh, Forget about the First Amendment implications that this bill skirts around and tries to dance around. But this idea that first off, this guy has aimed his agenda very easily at certain things that he doesn't believe in, and he's failed in every aspect. Let me make that very, very clear. The three bills that he has proposed, he has not gotten a single one past the second reading. This one, I assume, because of its unconstitutional nature, and Sean, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but because of its unconstitutional nature, I don't think it gets past the second reading here as well. I think that the
Yeah.
the Congress mates of his are going to look at this and go, look, you can't take on the First Amendment without making this a First Amendment issue. And he's not really doing that. He's kind of separating. He's separating what his agenda is, which is to take the idea of what he deems pornographic or inappropriate for anybody under 18, and saying that is the law, right? And that he can't prove he can't draw a line like that everybody would universally agree is the line. It can't happen. It's unconstitutional to assume that, right? Now, I'm not naive. I understand that we're in a different world and a different time now, and that the scary shit like this is happening. But a lot of this is hot air, and I think two things I want to say about I love our community. I love that we're rallying. I love that we're speaking about it and we're making it known to people. But we also have to be careful uh, about being the people that they have claimed us to be, which are false news narrators, and as we lose Sean, uh, false news narrators, and not looking at the bill. I read the entire bill myself. I informed myself, and if and nowhere in it would literature ever be discerned in this aspect. Okay, we just I think we're all on edge. We're a little bit over zealous about these things. We're feeling attacked, and rightfully so. There is a lot to feel attacked about, and a lot more aspects than this to feel attacked about. And there's a lot of things that this administration and the current political climate are doing that will actually come to light, and come in our trajectory as something to deal with. But this, I feel, is not going to be one of them. Personally, I think this is just a douchebag making douchebaggery claims that he's trying to do something. But for our community, we have to we have to do our due diligence. We have to show we're smarter than this. That we're not going to fall for this slickster and his shyster. This is a guy who's appeared on Alex Jones multiple times. Okay, that's the kind of guy we're talking about. And you want to talk about shysters. I mean, so that's how I feel. I think, for our community's sake, let's start aiming at the things that are really going to affect us and hurt us, and I understand, and I appreciate us. I understand that it's being put out there, and I understand that this could lead to something bigger. I get all that. I'm not naive to that fact either. But let's put it out there and just leave it alone, because putting attention on it also then brings out the other side of this equation, the crazies that might be thinking about going with it, right? And that mobilizes them, because hey, look, you're against us. Now we know that you have an agenda, and we're going to laser focus our agenda. I know it's I know it's
Yeah.
a silly way to look at it, but that's how I feel.
Well, I think that's probably the salient point, is that this is a stupid bill written by a stupid man. No, I'm sorry, probably not even written by him. It was written by some people who work for
In
him.
his church or whatever.
Yeah.
People who
Um,
gave him $100,000, right? Something like that to run a campaign.
right. It's a poorly written bill as well.
It is. Yeah, brutal to read.
But the danger now is that if other people feel they can weaponize that to sow more chaos, which is what this bill does, right?
Yeah.
It's a kind of bill that you hope gets passed because there's so much other stuff going on, and you exhaust even your allies to the point they'll say, okay, fine, I'll vote for your dumb bill. That's kind of what I think is the hope here. So yeah, I think that if you're in doubt, ask your lawyer friends to take a look at the bill. But if you're having trouble parsing it out, don't stress yourself out about it. Ask people who know or who have some expertise, and get a couple different opinions on it. But yeah, I think that it's like
I think the panic came from the idea of what the fines were and the jail time aspect of this, right? It's
oh gosh, yeah.
You're going straight to jail. There's not going to be a trial. There's not going to be an effort to adjudicate you. You're going to be found guilty of this, and you're going to face the punishment for it. And that is
right,
going on in our society right now, and I think that struck a nerve with the people who feel like this is attacking them and affecting them.
Yeah, or petition could do so, right?
Yeah,
people who are vulnerable, right? I mean, let's not pretend. The other day I was like rolling my eyes, like romance writers, but that's not fair, right? That's not really fair. And so the erotic romance writer who gets it, no pun intended, gets it from both ends, is even more vulnerable, right? And so you don't have to ban somebody's book
from a spot of defense, right? So,
right, and all you need to do is be out. Like if you're an individual who's writing erotic romance and you're outed, there are repercussions for that. There could be repercussions for that. So,
yeah.
But let's not get crazy. Nothing has been even voted on yet. So,
I mean, look at this douchebag. He's a douchebag. I mean, it's just plain and simple. Dusty Devers. I mean, that's, like I said, it sounds like a porn name already. So maybe we could throw him in jail for having a porn name. But
there we go.
But
do you talk to children with that porn name, with that name, Dusty?
Right. And that horribly groomed beard that you have, but it's, personal tax aside, that's just me being silly there. But the one thing I want to say is, look, there's fights we're going to be mobilizing for, and there's things that we will be having to fight for. It's already starting to happen a little bit, but a lot of what is being bandied about, we have constitutional rights and we have rights for, and so let's lean on our intelligence and stop with the stupid shit and just and fight and get ready for the fights that we know we're going to have to fight for, because that is what is more important in this aspect. And you know, as much as I love my erotic romance community of indie community of Oklahoma, uh, y'all just settle down for a minute. Simmer down. Let's put a pin in this and not give this guy any credence, because he's a joke and he's going to be proven so. And I understand many people would say the same thing about Trump, and well, look where we're at now. I get it. I understand that too, but um, let's start fighting the things we have to fight first, and then we can deal with this nonsense. That's how I feel.
Yeah,
but
agreed.
I mean,
I agree with that. Yeah,
it's just my opinion. So, if you disagree with me, totally fine too. I'm open to that. But just know that we have to align ourselves and get ready for the big fights that are ahead. And that being said, thank you so much for joining us this month for another great late night news. Mr. Hillman, thank you so much for taking the time on the freeway in danger of running off the road. Thank you so much for being here and giving your weight to a couple topics that I really, really appreciate you doing so for. It's really nice. You want to tell everybody where they can check you out at real quickly?
Sure.
Your website and everything.
You can go to thewickedvoice.com, and that has my social media. It needs a little bit updated, but my blog, which hasn't been updated in a bit, but it's there. You can find me here on the Going Network, either GMing and or occasionally playing during our Into Dice show, which is our actual play, or doing interviews and other commentary on Zero Means Your Dead. I'm also occasionally host, although more than occasionally now. I also occasionally host This Week in Indies, occasionally a panelist there, and as Joe's mentioned, I got to be on Words That Kill, which was fantastic. It was a fantastic experience. I can't wait for you all to see it. So yeah.
Awesome.
And the Writing Troupe on Facebook. The Writing Troupe on Facebook, but that's what killed me if I don't mention it.
Awesome. And everybody, thank you for joining us, and thank you for being here. Get ready for a week of Words That Kill, because we're going to slay you with some wonderful, wonderful programming all week long. And then Sunday we have This Week in Indies, which I am hosting this week, and it's going to be an awesome show. And we can't wait to talk. We're going to talk about writing to market. So that's going to be an interesting exercise. I've got a lot of great people who have that experience and will help you all figure that out if that's something you want to aim for. And we'll talk about the implications of that as well. But all that is up ahead, because it's always time to go indie now. Bye, everybody.